We begin in Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja after spending 2 weeks abroad. The president returned to his official residence at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja, in the early hours of Wednesday. The president had departed Abuja for the Netherlands on April 23, 2024 for a 3-day official visit, honoring an invitation from the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte. In a tweet on Tuesday, Tinubu's special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ananuga, said while in the Netherlands, the president participated in the Nigerian-Dutch Business and Investment Forum, which brought together heads of conglomerates and organizations in both countries. The Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project has given the federal government 48 hours to withdraw the 0.5% cybersecurity levy imposed on Nigerians. This is contained in a statement on its official X handle. SERAP threatens to drag the federal government to court if the unlawful directive by the Central Bank of Nigeria is not withdrawn. The CBN had, in a circular on Monday, directed banks to levy a 0.5% cybersecurity charge on electronic transactions effective May 20, 2024. The CBN clarified that the levy would be separately reflected in the customer's account as cybersecurity levy and applied at the point of electronic transfer origination, then deducted and remitted by the financial institution. Earlier, Senior Manager and Lead ESG and Climate Change Services at Anderson, Temitope Kolade, was on the news and shared his thoughts on this.
Actually, I think for banking institutions, it's not meant to impact their operational expenses as much, particularly because there are clear exemptions in the Act and in the provisions of the Act, and includes things around intra-bank transfers, things around transactions involving banks' internal accounts, suspense accounts, clearing accounts, and all of that. So expectedly, it shouldn't impact on the bank's operations in themselves. But when it comes to other businesses, apparently it would, except for the fact that there are also exemptions when it comes to things around salary payments and loans and all of those, right? But in terms of, I think it's down to individuals and the sort of the businesses that would have to make some value transactions, and then you have to be paying maybe about 5,000 on a million for every transfer that you make, and that could be a lot going forward with all other transaction costs that's people.
The senator representing Ondo South Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Ibrahim, has accused Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo and a former Deputy Senate President Ovie Omoagege of compromising the outcome of the April 20 governorship primary of the All Progressive Congress APC in Ondo State. Ibrahim, who addressed a news conference in Abuja, specifically accused Ododo and Omoagege of changing the venue of the State Collation Center abruptly without giving contestants prior notice. The duo served as the chairman and secretary of the election committee sent by the APC to conduct the primaries.
You know what the party constitution says, that it exhausts the internal machineries before filing in court. We had an appeal. Appeal was dismissed by the party. We wrote a letter to NWC of the party. That's the last organ of the party. So they still went ahead and gave certificate of return after the letter. So now we're in court. You can now be talking about party affairs. We are going beyond that. What we are in is threatening internal democracy. It's not, and in fact, our prayer is that conduct a new primary or delist APC from participating in 2024 November election in Ondo. And of course, in several cases, you are aware of Safara, Taraba, Jigawa. There are cases where Supreme Court have delisted a political party from participating in the May election if you cannot conduct your own primary very well. And it will strengthen democracy.
Away from that, the House of Representatives has denied demanding a bribe from the Binance Group following a recent allegation by the cryptocurrency company. This is as the House has also resolved to launch an investigation into the escape of the Binance executive, Nadeem Anjarwalla, from the National Security Advisor's custody in March. Binance had on Tuesday stated that some unknown persons in Nigeria demanded huge payments in digital currency to make their problems in the country go away. The company had pointed out that its representatives were approached after leaving a meeting with the House Committee on Financial Crimes. We'll go on a short break now. The news continues right after. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Let's bring you a bit of politics now. The Rivers State chapter of the Association of Local Government Areas of Nigeria has accused Governor Siminalayi Fubara of withholding its funds meant for the 23 local government areas in the state. The state ALGON said the action had denied them of their functions in the administration of the third tier of government. The LG chairman said the action of the governor is tantamount to prescribing local government councils, even as they backed the call by the caretaker committee chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Tony Okocha, for the State Assembly to commence impeachment proceedings against the governor. For a bit more perspective on matters arising from that, I'm joined now by Public Affairs Analyst, Comrade Ruben Izu. Comrade, it's good to have you join us on the news. Let's start with an understanding of what's going on. The association has accused the governor of withholding funds meant for the local government areas. If this is true, do you think this is enough reason for backing his impeachment?
Well, thank you for having me in the show this moment. I think the happening over here is a very sad one, but the fact remains that the position of the local government chairman, as the case may be, they are about 21 out of 23. I think Opopo and Boni local government are in support of the Rivers State government, while the 21 local government are solely behind the FCT minister. The actions of the local government chairman, for me as a person, I think in terms of politics, is in line with what they believe. And aside the political interest, I think it is very wrong for the state government to withhold allocations for local government chairman. And that is where I frown at the constitution. And that is where I frown at a lot of things we do, because the local government is the third tier of government, the federal, the state, and as well as the local government. How will the state enjoys a very unhindered relationship with the federal government when it comes to assessing their own fund. As soon as the FAC meeting is being held, as soon as everything is in order, money meant for the states are being disbursed. But for that of this local government, it seems that they are a bit at the mercy of the state governors. And from the indication from what the local government chairman has made known to us today, that of MOHA is already since about March, from what they allege, that the MOHA local government has not seen allocation since March till this moment, while from other local government that are actually in support of the FCT minister, for what they have said, they have not seen allocation for April. And ordinarily, before allocation is being disbursed, there is what they call JAC meeting, where the state and the local government chairman and their HLGAs and co will meet and look at the fund that came in, if there is addition based on the oil sales and everything in terms of revenue. They know how it has been shared across board, and they know how to disburse. But in this case, the local government chairman have waited for the governor to call for the FAC meeting, for the JAC meeting. He has not called, and rather, from what the local government chairman alleged, which I believe is true, because not too long today, I saw a statement credited to somebody very close to the government. It's a political warfare here. The local government have insinuated that the governor has on Monday called for a meeting of HLGs and HPMs, as well as some senior directors, directing them to give him a rundown in verbal writing, in clear writings rather, of the total expenditure of the local government. That is an indication that you want to know the overhead in the local government in terms of salary structure. Thereby, boycotting the executive chairman. Now, I believe that this current executive chairman has up to 18th of June for their 3-year term to expire, as enshrined in the Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Right. From the actions of the governor calling these directors and HSGs and HPMs to know the salary structures of the local government, now that he has held with
all right, comrade, I know I know it's a complicated politics in Rivers State, and I also know that everything that's being said is an allegation, it's an accusation, and whoever is accused has the right of reply. Has there been an effort to speak with the government, with the governor himself, have an interaction, perhaps understand why the situation is as it is, aside from making inferences from incidents that might be interpreted differently should he speak?
Come again.
All right, so I'm trying to say that it's a complicated politics in Rivers State. I understand a lot is going on, but then everything that you've said and everything that we've seen is accusation. None has been proven. They have not received money does not automatically translate, I mean, based on a general understanding that the governor is withholding that. So my question is, has there been an effort to communicate directly by this chairman with the governor to understand his thinking at the moment? Because everything we've said, I've heard, we've not had a response from the governor.
Well, as I am speaking currently, I speak as a public affairs analyst and not as a spokesperson to either ALGON nor to the state governor. We are working, including your station, with the information that has filtered in the public domain currently, which is the position of the 21 local government chairmen, alleging that the governor has withheld the April allocation to local government.
Well, I asked that question. This is an independent organization, like you said. I'm just asking based off of what you said. You said you made inferences. You said there might be some truth. And I am asking you, based on your understanding of the politics in the place, somebody that is accused of a crime, doesn't the person have, I mean, there should be an opportunity for that person to defend himself, don't you think?
You know why the local government chairman has felt so, and any other person may also feel so. From I think about yesterday, the governor also made a statement at the State Assembly at their existence. He referred to them as not existing, if not for him. Now we knew the presence of the State Assembly loyal to the FCT minister. Before this moment that the local government chairmen are actually coming out to also speak on this very regard, there has been effort to ensure that there is a date for Jack, and the date has actually passed. The local government chairman, I believe, from the spokesperson and from every indication from what they've given out to the public domain, there has been an attempt to call the attention of the governor towards that. But it seems like the attempt from the angle of the governor calling the HLGA, the HPM, and directors to give him a rundown of salary structures of the local government actually gave them, or anybody they believe that the local government normal way to pay the allocation is to be boycotted. I don't know if you get me. If you are in charge of salary structure in your station and your director, who is ought to remit to you, and you make the payment, is now calling on somebody as your subordinate to know the real salary structures, and also warning, because the governor also warned the HLGs and HPMs and any other senior directors not to in any way appear to the other faction of the Amewule's assembly if they are to be invited. I will speak as somebody who is in River State, who understand the political difference over here. There is an indication currently, and there is an insinuation that the current local government tenure, as it expires on the 18th of next month, if the court, they are in court with the assembly over tenure elongation, and there is a persuasion, or if I should say an insinuation from the angle of the River State government, that the current local government chairmen, if they don't succeed through the assembly, loyal to the FCT minister to extend their tenure, then they will hand over to HLGs and HKs.
I'm sorry to interject.
Until they are screened.
I'm sorry to interject, Comrade, but we're really pressed for time, and there are so many questions coming off what you're saying. But let's just ask the most pertinent, and that is, when two elephants fight, the grass usually suffers, and the grass reference here is likened to the people. What can be done to avert this so that the benefit of governance will get to the grassroots?
The truth about it is nothing can be done if our constitutions are still remaining the same. We claim that we operate a grand norm as a constitution, but we do not operate one. We do not have a constitution that is grand norm, because a constitution that is grand norm is people-led. When people are being, just like you are being making statements, or you have an idea that democracy is government of the people, by the people, and the government must be for the people. Not until that actually plays out. The few we have elected, based on the pattern at which they become governors, House of Assembly, President, and National Assembly members, they are not answerable to you and I until the law makes it possible, either through the INEC Electoral Act amendment, if indeed it will be adhered to. When you emerge as a governor, you emerge as in any electoral position, you will respect the people, and the people will become the opinion in general. But in this case, we have few are seated to make a governor, few are seated to make a president, and all the rest. The population will continue to suffer, because what is currently happening in River State, the masses are suffering.
I mean, even if we have the, comrade, even if we have the entire hour, we won't be able to exhaust this conversation. So I guess we'll just have to pause it for now and maybe continue subsequently. Thank you very much for your time.
It's always been a pleasure. It's always been a pleasure.
The Nigerian Senate, Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, and stakeholders in the solid minerals subsector of the economy have agreed on the need to explore it for the purpose of tackling the current foreign exchange crisis in the country. They gathered at a 3-day investigative hearing on the need to comprehensively review the input and output values of the Nigerian mining industry in the light of its central role to economic diversification, foreign exchange earnings, and social inclusion. It was organized by the Senate Committee on Solid Minerals Development.
So today, we are gathered here with a shared purpose to ask the very tough questions and seek answers, those that will shape the future of this great nation, and liberate ourselves from the shackles of oil dependence, and even liberate ourselves from insecurity caused by illegal mining. How can we transform our mono economy into a fully diversified economy? That's part of what concerns you. So you are here to make suggestions on how to improve Nigeria's IGR.
When I came into office about 10 months ago, and I unfolded my 7-point agenda, I did say that my vision and objective is to ensure that the solid mineral sector contributes very significantly, and I put a figure of 50% to the GDP at that time. A lot of people scoffed at that figure, thinking it was a mirage. But it is not a mirage if we have all our inputs that are necessary to rejig the sector. The sector can overtake the oil industry in this country. It has that potential. As at the last count, when we signed an MOU with the German company, Geoscan Limited, is a geological survey and data gathering agency or company, and it is world certified. It gave us a minimum of 750 billion worth of solid minerals underground in Nigeria. And that is just a minuscule of the entire potential that we have. The survey only covers a certain part of the country. It did not cover the entire country. So you can imagine when you extrapolate, if we are having a potential $750 billion worth of solid minerals in just a small segment of Nigeria, imagine what we will derive or what we will find if the survey covers the entire length and breadth of Nigeria.
A bit of health now. Mental health issues are a growing concern in Nigeria. An estimate suggests that 1 in 4 citizens, or roughly 50 million people, experience some form of mental illness. However, access to proper care remains a significant challenge. Experts and therapists are raising awareness about the importance of mental health and the need for improved services. With a limited number of mental health facilities nationwide, there's a critical need to bridge the gap and ensure everyone has access to the help they need.
For mental awareness, it's what every one of us should understand and campaign for, because the mind is like the engine of the body. It processes all information, and if the mind is defeated, I wonder what any man can do.
A lot of people don't go for therapy because one is maybe expensive, or maybe because you also don't want to be termed not well, as the case may be.
Counseling is not limited to just the adults, From teenage years, we see our teenagers need it. We're hearing so much about drug abuse, hearing so much about things that are going on, and having the Institute come up with, various clinics and various programs to help the public. I applaud it.
I can say the Institute of Counseling has been changing lives, changing one life at a time, and have been building dreams. You see people confused, they don't know where to start from, they don't know what to do, but they come here and receive direction. You can see many of our counselors where they were before and where they are now. They are so grateful, and they are touching lives in their own spheres.
Stakeholders in Nigeria are calling for the full implementation of the 2018 Persons with Disabilities Act, urging for proper inclusion and mainstreaming of people with disabilities in the Nigerian society. This call came as they launched the Disability Inclusion Compass in Abuja, the nation's capital. My colleague Joshua Imarayi has the full report.
There is nothing about us without us was the rallying cry as stakeholders advocated for the rights of people with disabilities in Nigeria. They emphasized that despite these challenges, individuals with disabilities constitute a significant demography, thus their rights should be considered a high priority.
The exclusion of persons with disability is so obvious in this country that most of us are being stigmatized. We are being excluded from programs and activities. So this workshop is going to throw more light to stakeholders and right holders that persons with disabilities has every fundamental right like every other person without disability. So basically what this workshop is all about is to educate the stakeholders and the general public to know that persons with disabilities also have their own individual and unique ability to contribute positively to the society.
In 2018, Nigeria signed the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Act, a landmark legislation protecting the rights and well-being of individuals with disabilities. However, with only 13 states having domesticated the act, stakeholders urge full implementation to ensure inclusivity and mainstreaming of people with disabilities in Nigerian society.
The act actually gave persons with disabilities that leeway for them to take up litigations if they couldn't access some physical structures around. So, but for us, persons with disability, we don't really want to go towards that way. So we expect government to begin to do something to ensure compliance of that law.
Stakeholders also emphasize the importance of utilizing the disability community to boost the nation's workforce.
It's very obvious that persons with disabilities have potentials, and we need to tap into that. When we ignore them, what we're simply doing, we are depleting the workforce of the nation. We are not tapping into what they can do. There are creativities that we need to look into. There are things they are doing that we need to support and ensure that the society is benefits from these talents and abilities that they have. Yeah.
They are also calling on citizens to show respect to persons living with disabilities and shun acts of discrimination. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
In a move to revamp the education sector in Nigeria's northeast, Boru State Governor Professor Babagana Zulum has flagged off the training of nearly 2,000 teachers. The candidates were found to be trainable after a competency test conducted by the authorities. Our correspondent, Umaru Kirawa, completes the report.
Education remains one of the worst hit sectors due to insurgency in Nigeria's northeast. In Borno State alone, over 600 teachers were murdered within the span of 12 years. With so many anomalies in the sector, which are not limited to unqualified teachers, discrepancies in salary, among others at the basic education level. The government now flags off intensive training of teachers across the state at the Wakabiu College of Education in Biu local government area.
There's no any government in the history of Boru State which has actually touched our life like this one. Today, a total of 1,872 teachers have registered for our training session. Among them are 702 SSCE holders to undergo 2 years, 6-semester program.
Remain focused and do what is right. As long as what we are doing is right, it doesn't matter whether you are alone or everybody is with you.
Governor Zulum highlighted the importance of investing in the professional development of teachers, as they are the cornerstone of any successful education system.
This number that are to be trained here in Wakabiu form part of the 6,227 teachers that were considered trainable during the last competency test analysis.
A wannan gwamnatin duk education secretaries ai musu mota an aje musu kuɗi saboda a kula da yaranmu kusan biliyan.
The state government will convert the teachers who perform poorly during the training to non-academic staff instead of retrenching them.
All the trainees will receive 30,000 naira on a monthly basis for the 3 months, and even those that will be trained for 2 years will receive an allowance scholarship of 30,000 naira on a monthly basis. That means government will be spending 300 million naira on a monthly basis for this training.
The aim is to equip the teachers with the necessary expertise they need to deliver engaging and effective lessons, ultimately improving learning outcomes for students across the state. In Biu for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Coming up, Chad's opposition candidates party condemned threats and violence. More after the break. Thank you for staying with us. The news continues in Central Africa, where Chadian Prime Minister and presidential candidate Success Masra's party has condemned violence and threats against him and his supporters, as well as alleged vote fraud at elections this week. Masra, once an opposition figure, now stands as the main challenger against transitional president and junta leader Muhammad Idris Deby Itno, who has held power for the past 3 years. Masra's party, the Transformers, claimed in a statement that their candidate is under surveillance and faces threats to his safety. The Transformers, along with the Justice and Equality Coalition that supports them, decried what they describe as serious violence directed towards their supporters, alongside arbitrary arrests since the commencement of Monday's elections.
Des arrestations arbitraires en dehors de toute procédure légale, d'autres activement recherchés, nous demandons la libération de tous ceux qui ont été arrêtés et la cessation de ces intimidations. 2. Des refus d'accès à des bureaux de vote en violation du principe de transparence qui devrait gouverner toute élection crédible. 3. Des violations inimaginables, y compris des tirs à balles réelles, afin de s'accaparer des bulletins et procès-verbaux Certains de ces cas sont documentés par des constats d'huissiers. À cet égard, il appelle le peuple à rester vigilant et mobilisé pour défendre sa volonté exprimée.
We now move to East Africa for one of our lead stories this evening. The government in Kenya has signed a deal with doctors after almost 2 months of industrial action that left thousands of patients struggling to find medical care. Details of the deal were not immediately available. Talks had previously collapsed over the government's refusal to pay medical interns higher salaries as stipulated in a 2017 agreement following an earlier strike. President William Ruto's cabinet had previously said it was unsustainable to pay the interns, who make up about 30% of doctors, a monthly stipend of $1,530 and offered $530. But the doctors, numbering some 7,000 in total, had vowed not to return to the negotiating table if the agreed pay level was not restored. Meanwhile, Kenya has declared this Friday as a national holiday to remember those who died from the ongoing floods in the country, as well as for Kenyans to plant trees. More than 200 people have already died from the severe flooding across the country, with more than 250 million affected by the situation. President William Ruto said on Wednesday that the day will allow Kenyans to plant trees to mitigate against the effects of climate change, which has been responsible for the severe floods. The government spokesman, Isaac Mwara, had said a special notice would be issued designating Friday as a National Tree Growing Day. He said the Environment Minister would later give further directions on the matter. Let's go to Southern Africa, where 8 bodyguards of South Africa's Deputy President Paul Mashatile are back in court for pre-trial proceedings. They were involved in a blue light mafia assault last year. The men face 11 charges and are currently out on 10,000 rand bail. The charges include assault, malicious damage of property, defeating the ends of justice, and pointing a firearm. The former VIP Presidential Protection Unit officers were filmed assaulting off-duty soldiers on the side of N1 highway in 2023.
Good afternoon, Mazino, and also good afternoon to our viewers. As you can see my background, we are at the Randburg Magistrate Court, where the Democratic Alliance and civil organizations, civil activists are here just to register their concerns. The story that have been running, we know we ran this story at our TV last year when 8 bodyguards for Deputy President Paul Mashatile assaulted a soldier that was not on duty in N1, and this story made the headlines not only here in South Africa but also on international news. But today they are back here at the Magistrate Court in Randburg here today, and with me with the Democratic Alliance Shadow Minister of Police, just to tell us their concerns as a party. And good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us here at News Central.
Thank you very much for having me.
What are your concerns, especially when you see those that are supposed to be law enforcement and they are breaking the law?
Well, it's completely unacceptable. We've got a culture of impunity within the South African police service, which is driven by corrupt and criminal political leaders in South Africa who are not doing what is required to keep us safe. The Constitution is very clear in terms of Section 205, which is what mandates SAPS and directs them on how to keep us safe. And SAPS is basically admitting that they cannot keep us safe, and they take it one step further. In this case, in the Blue Light Mafia that we are here to attend this trial today, you can see that this is a police service which has now taken the law into its own hands in the sense of dispensing violent, what they would call justice, to innocent bystanders. People who are driving their car down the road can be forced off the road, not just forced off the road, but violently assaulted and attacked and beaten with guns drawn, pointed at them. We cannot allow that situation to exist in South Africa, and I'm sure it's existing every other day. We're just very lucky that this incident was caught on camera. The DA lodged a complaint with IPID, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. My colleague Ian Cameron from Action Society jumped into action, made sure we followed the case, have held the criminal justice system accountable, and this is what it takes to rebuild safety in South Africa. We need to make sure that no law enforcement officer is above the law, no politician is above the law, and we must make sure that justice takes its course.
Thank you so much for that. Also,
the UK government has announced the expulsion of a Russian defence attache, accusing them of operating as an undeclared military intelligence officer. Interior Minister James Cleverly delivered the news to Parliament on Wednesday, adding that diplomatic status would be revoked from several Russian-owned properties, including one in Sussex, southern England, and another in London, amid allegations of their involvement in intelligence activities. Cleverly also outlined new restrictions on Russian diplomatic visas, including a cap on the duration of stay for the Russian diplomats in the UK. These measures come in the wake of growing concerns within the UK government regarding what they describe as a surge in malign Russian activities within the country.
We will expel the Russian Defence Attache, who is an undeclared military intelligence officer. We will remove diplomatic premises status from several Russian-owned properties in the UK, including Seacock's House, a Russian-owned property in Sussex, and the Trade and Defence section in Highgate, which we believe have been used for intelligence purposes. And we are imposing new restrictions on Russian diplomatic visas, including capping the length of time Russian diplomats can spend in the UK. Russia has failed to provide any explanation for these events. In the coming days, we should expect accusations of Russophobia, conspiracy theories and hysteria from the Russian government. This is not new, and the British people and the British government will not fall for it and will not.
President of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, has accused the far-right AfD of betraying Germany to the autocrats. Delivering a speech at the German conservative CDU party Congress on Wednesday, the EU president alleged that the AfD is making propaganda for Putin and spying for China ahead of the European elections. Campaigning for a second term as European Commission president with European Parliament elections in June, von der Leyen, who herself is a CDU member, noted that those who stand up for democratic society must be protected regardless of the party they belong.
Wenn wir über Gefahren für unsere Demokratie sprechen, dann geht es nicht nur um Positionen und Inhalte, es geht auch um Menschen. Und egal ob Ortsrat, Landtag, Bundestag oder Europäisches Parlament, wir müssen all diejenigen vor Übergriffen schützen, die sich für unsere demokratische Gesellschaft und unser Land einsetzen, egal welcher Partei sie angehören. Denn wenn diese Menschen nicht mehr sicher sind, dann ist unsere Demokratie auch nicht mehr sicher. Und deshalb müssen die Täter die volle Härte des Gesetzes spüren. Ich fasse einfach mal zusammen. Die AfD macht vor der Europawahl Propaganda für Putin und Spionage für China. Und erst schwadroniert die AfD über Volk und Vaterland.
In response to the Cybercrime Act amendment, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has instructed banks, mobile money operators and other financial institutions to implement a 0.5% levy on specific electronic transactions. The purpose of this levy is to generate funds for the National Cybersecurity Fund, which is managed by the National Security Advisor. During a discussion on the Business Edge show, Segun Adeyemi, the CEO and co-founder of Anchor, shed light on the nature of this levy.
Well, it's not a fine or a fee, at least from my own perspective. It is more of a fee to contribute to the fund. And what is important to note is that this is actually just one of the sources of the funding of the National Cyber cybercrime national
fund.
security national fund. Exactly, National Cybersecurity Fund.
Yes.
The other forms of funding that fund. So this Cybercrime Act has recommended that this cybersecurity levy be applied to financial institutions, but it is just one of the 4 ways that fund is being funded. Now, the goal is what is important here, the intention of the fund. The fund is what is going to...
Telecom companies in Nigeria are concerned that the construction of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway could damage undersea cables crucial for internet connectivity. The project could disrupt international communications and uplink facilities. The telcos are urging the Ministry of Works to consult with them and take steps to avoid cable damage. Mayowa Salami, Associate Director at Anderson Nigeria, shared insights on preventing similar incidents.
The whole land belongs to the federal government. At the end of the day, yes, permits are given, surveys are done, but if you look at, what will be the impact to the general populace, right? And what will be the long-term benefit as well? Sometimes we have to let go, as the case may be, to say that, yes, we have to do this sort of project. And I would say that, due compensation should be given to those that are really affected by this project, right? And, and also ensure that, going forward, we have the right course. And, if something has been put to paper, let us, establish that this is how it's going to be done going forward, so that.
And that is all at this hour. But before we go, let's take a quick recap of our major stories. President Bola Tinubu has returned to Nigeria after 2 weeks abroad. Association of Local Government Areas of Nigeria has accused Rivers Governor of withholding funds and backs impeachment. And finally, we told you that government Kenyan doctors have signed agreement ending months of strike. I'd like to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on social media at News Central TV. We're live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for watching.